So I want to talk about someone who absolutely did not get enough credit last year. So as you see right here, I have two different players who are unnamed. So you see how they finished in sacks. Player A had more sacks, player A had more pressures, and player A had one more combined tackle. So barely edged out in that category. One of these players is Chase Young. One of these players is Montez Sweat. Player A, the better one, statistically, is Montez Sweat. I think he had an incredibly underrated season for Washington and did not get enough credit for it. In fact, even Montez Sweat's rookie numbers were pretty much the same as Chase Young's rookie numbers. Now, granted, we don't really need to argue about who's better, Young or Sweat. Personally, I think everyone would take Chase Young over Montez Sweat just given his potential. But my point is, I think Sweat was the better player last year, and I think Sweat is really good, really underrated, and does not get enough credit because he's overshadowed by, obviously, one of the best college prospects we've ever seen, who had a dominant rookie season and won Defensive Rookie of the Year. So again, I get it. I'm not trying to bash Young. Really, I'm bringing this up to try to give credit to Sweat and how well he's done. So let's get into the film study and talk really about what he's able to do so well for Washington. So we'll start off with this play. This is a great example of the fact that he can do things well even when things go wrong. So going up one-on-one against the right tackle, and watch what he's going to try to do here. So right off the bat, you see that he's able to use his right arm and grab onto the tackle's, he uses his right arm to grab onto the tackle's right arm, and in doing that, he typically could get around to the side of the tackle, run forward, and try to get to the quarterback. That's one of the things I really like about Sweat is just his length. He's just a tall guy with a big arm length and can find a way to, get to you before you can get to him. He's 6'6", and that really helps him a lot, I think. You can see how those long arms help him. However, you also see an issue on this play, right? You see that the halfback is coming in about to chip him, which means that where he wants to go is going to be a lot more difficult because there's another player in that area. So now he's going to have to try and get to the inside, which is going to be a little bit more difficult, or he's just going to have to use power. But watch how he is able to sort of use power and still just disrupt Carson Wentz. Now, that didn't completely destroy the play, but it was a bit of a disruption right there, and, maybe that's the reason for the missed throw, is just that little disruption that can, end up having some huge impacts on specific plays. So even when things went wrong for Sweat, he was able to still make a really good play. And for me, I think that that's really impressive that even when you get chipped, when you had a win on the outside, still find a way to create a pressure there. That's good for me. We can talk about something like this. Personally, one of the things that frustrates me a little bit when talking about football is that a lot of people will bring up like, oh, look how good this player is, but you go back and you rewatch the play that they're talking about, and it's just like a blown assignment. This one is a blown assignment. You have multiple Cleveland Browns players who are going to block. They're not picking up Sweat right here. There should be a better plan for this probably. Maybe with a halfback in the game that would have helped where he can pick up a blitz. There's no back, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult, and Baker should probably be a bit more aware of something like this happening. But also Washington they're very well coached. Ron Rivera knows what he's doing. They'll wait on blitzing and then blitz at the right time, so they'll maybe go a full drive without blitzing, but then just surprise you. So I think that's what's happening here. Anyways, Sweat is not going to get blocked at the line. But what I want you to see is how he takes advantage of this. Watch him. Look at just the speed. Watch how he is able to track down Baker Mayfield, who is not an easy guy to track down, and that ended up getting ruled an incomplete pass, not a sack. But that was a good play, even though, yes, it was set up due to really, he was schemed into that position. He did a great job of taking advantage of it, and that's what you want your players to do sometimes. You don't always have to be just winning one-on-one matchups. Sometimes do what the scheme asks you to do in a good way. That's what Sweat did. Now let's talk about probably what he is best at. I touched on it a bit earlier, but it's his hands at the line that really make him so effective. Again, uses the good length. And what you're going to want to see is that the tackle who he's going up against is going to stick his arms out, and you're going to want to see what Sweat does with that. Watch, right when this play starts, notice how he just grabs the hands and just shoves them aside a little bit, and he is able to go over and get to Andy Dalton for a sack. That's just a really good play right there. Again, getting the outside arm of the tackle. That's what you want to do. And since he's taller than a lot of tackles, he can, he has longer arms than a lot of tackles. He can get there quicker, which just makes things a lot more difficult if you're a tackle. And like, watch, this play is another one. It doesn't always have to be he's getting there quicker. Sometimes he can just do it better. It feels like so often when watching Sweat, he puts his hands exactly where you want him to put his hands. Watch how he on this one, again, gets out his left arm onto 78's right arm, and he is able to shove it aside. Ends up getting a forced fumble there, not just a sack. So again, really good plays, gets the hand placement that you want to see. And those are the kind of sacks that can be really effective. I've talked a bit about how a good amount of sacks are actually coverage sacks. A lot of people don't realize that, but he's the kind of guy who can get non-coverage sacks. He can get the sacks that even if your first read is open, you can't get it there. So that's why I like him so much as an edge rusher. Like, we'll show one more. So he's going to be going up against 77 for Cincinnati right here, and watch what he's going to be able to do. So as you see, right when this play starts, gets that right arm fully extended, he's going to grab onto the shoulder pec area, or not the shoulder, the pec area of that tackle, and then he gets his left arm, and again, it's that outside arm. So for a right tackle, it's the right arm. For a left tackle, it's the left arm. That's the arm you have to beat. And he does such a good job of, even if that arm is on him, which it is right now, he's strong enough and he has the good hands to sort of grab the wrist and still move it aside. And like, watch, as you see, he is able to knock that off, and then he's going to be able to get a sack right there. So again, some of these plays had some help with other guys coming through, but that's football. I mean, when you have other good defensive linemen, it's going to make things easier. So the fact that it's Chase Young on one side, Montez Sweat on the other for potentially a very long time, that's a really good thing for the Washington football team. It really is. And even with that, he was a big part of why they went to the playoffs last year, but I just feel like he didn't get the credit he deserved. And I think part of it is, he did fall a little bit in the draft, so he was still a first-round pick, but he fell a little bit, and that could partially be why some people, people like to see, okay, second overall pick, he's the guy, which again, Chase Young is awesome. No one's denying that. But I do feel like he deserved a lot of credit as well. Montez Sweat, really underrated player, and I think he got a little bit overshadowed by Chase Young because he's the more recognizable guy as well. He's the bigger name, so they both deserve a ton of credit. So I thought about making a Young video, but then I said, I'll make a Montez Sweat video because I feel like he doesn't get talked about as much as he should. I mean, honestly, in 2 years, racking up 16 sacks, that's really impressive. That doesn't happen too often. That's pretty difficult to do. And, he's also just shy of 100 pressures. So, very good. Just shy of 60 pressures. So, all of this statistically very good. Tape, honestly, even better. There's just so much to like about Montez Sweat. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Montez Sweat? Do you agree with me that he is highly underrated? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.